Okay, folks, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into some seriously juicy cricket stats. We're talking about New Zealand's recent shocker in Bengaluru, a victory that has the cricketing world buzzing.
It's a pleasure to be here. And you're right, this wasn't just any win. We're talking about a 36-year drought for New Zealand. Their last test win in India was way back in 1988.
1988, I mean, most of our listeners were probably, what, not even born yet? That's insane. It really puts into perspective how dominant India has been on its home turf.
You're telling me it's almost unheard of for India to lose at home, let alone twice in a single calendar year.
And they've already lost to England and Hyderabad earlier this year, so 2024 is not looking good for them on that front. The last time this happened, when was it? 2012, England again, right?
Spot on. 2012 against England. It seems history might be repeating itself. But let's talk about this Bengaluru match. New Zealand chased down over 100 runs in the final innings to clinch the win. That's practically unheard of in India.
No kidding. That just doesn't happen. Why is that such a big deal? I mean, for those of us who may not fully grasp the nuances.
Imagine the pressure cooker of an Indian crowd, the spin-friendly conditions. Everything seems designed to give India the upper hand. The last time a visiting team successfully chased over 100 runs in India was back in 2000 when South Africa pulled it off in Mumbai.
Wow. So, statistically speaking, New Zealand basically pulled off a miracle.
Pretty much.
You mentioned spin-friendly conditions, and I know we wanted to get into this. India is practically synonymous with spin bowling, right? But then I saw the economy rates for this match, and something didn't quite add up.
Ah, yes, the numbers. It's where things get really interesting. The Indian spinners ended up with an economy rate of 4.83 in this match.
Okay, so for our listeners who aren't familiar with cricket stats, remind us quickly, what does that mean in plain English, and is that bad?
Basically, the economy rate tells you how many runs a bowler gives up per over. The lower, the better, obviously. And for a team like India, whose attack heavily relies on spin, 4.83 is unusually high. For comparison, in their previous home loss to England, their spinners had a much tighter 4.53 economy rate.
So was it just an off day for the Indian spinners, or is there more to it?
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't just the Indian spinners. New Zealand spinners were also pretty expensive. The combined economy rate for spinners in this match was a whopping 4.93.
Wow, seriously, that high?
Oh, yeah. To find a test match with a higher combined spin economy rate, you'd have to rewind all the way back to the India-Pakistan clash in Lahore in 2006.
Okay, now that's just crazy. So are we witnessing a shift in how effective spin bowling is these days, especially with the rise of these super fast pitches and all the power hitting we see, especially in the shorter formats?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? There's a bunch of factors at play, but it's certainly possible. Maybe New Zealand has cracked the code on a tackling spin on Indian soil. Or perhaps it signifies a bigger change in how Test cricket is evolving as a whole.
It's fascinating food for thought, for sure. And to make this victory even more improbable, it happened at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. I mean, that place is practically a fortress for India, isn't it?
You could say that again. India rarely loses at Chinnaswamy. The last time they lost a Test match there was way back in 2005 against, you guessed it, Pakistan.
Wow. It's like everything about that venue, the crowd, the conditions, everything is set up for an Indian victory. And yet.
And yet New Zealand didn't just win. They absolutely dominated, breaking a 36-year-long dry spell. It's incredible, and let's not forget, this was also their first ever Test victory at that specific ground. Talk about resilience.
Talk about making history. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? We've got statistical anomalies, historic upsets, and a New Zealand team that just refused to back down.
Absolutely. This match has thrown a wrench into everything we thought we knew about what's predictable in Test cricket. We're left with a big question mark. Does New Zealand's victory signal a changing of the guard? A new era where spin might not be the dominant force it once was, especially against a team as skilled and adaptable as New Zealand. Something for everyone to ponder.
For sure. And with that thought-provoking question, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.